Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a wonderful morning to you. This is the start of the week and this is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And of course we broadcast on TV1, which is part of the Capital Maharaja Group. Now then, this morning I thought I'd show you something. Here we go. Look. Isn't it wonderful? It's a chessboard and all its pieces are in place and it's absolutely pristine. And our guest this morning is Mr. Shamindra Ferdinando, the deputy news editor, the editor news actually at the Island newspaper, that wonderful paper that's been going on from the year dot, I think. Very good morning to you, Shamindra.
Good morning, Faraz.
Now, Shamindra, this is a chessboard, as you gather, right? All the places, all its pieces in its place. But, Shamindra, look, I can take these four out there. Let's do it like that, yeah? And I can put all these things in its place, like that. And I can do that, that, and that, and that. And look, it looks all the same again. No change.
Certainly, no change, absolutely not. The same team, yes.
The same team. I'm talking about nothing but the cabinet reshuffle. What reshuffle? It's all nonsense, isn't it? Waste of time.
Certainly, Faraz. Actually, a member of the government, a member of the UNP, Vasanta Senayaka, the Deputy State Minister of Foreign Affairs,
yes,
he has already called it a comedy. So there's already opposition to this attempt to deceive the people.
It's amazing because it's actually no change at all. You know, on the London buses, when it comes to the end of its journey, the conductor will shout out, "All change!" Well, what change?
It's the same team for us.
It's become a bit of a comedy. And we're not in the comedy business. This is supposed to be a serious program. You know, and look, I've got the newspapers here, and they're all full of this thing. It's all the same thing. You know, it's like mutual transfers. What Ranil had, or what Sagala had, Ranil's got. And then we've got Kabir. He done a in-out transaction. He gave it all to Kiryalla gave it to Kabir. So remember, Kabir was part of the breakfast meeting. Remember the breakfast meeting?
Yes, that was on February 26th, 2015.
I tell you what, your grey matter's working. It is. This whole thing, people expected some change. What's happened? Isn't it sad that they don't seem to have understood why the electorate voted as they did? Why do you think the electorate voted as they did? What was the problem? What are the issues in your mind?
For us, the electorate expected far more serious changes in the administration, the UNP administration. And some members of the government, as an example, Dr. Jayampati Vikramatne, he called a press conference last week and he directly blamed the leaders of the UNP and the SLP for the situation. Now, we have been told that they carried out this reshuffle yesterday, and I don't think we can call it a reshuffle. Right? What they did was they made some changes to deceive the people. And the problems remain. Obviously, the government do not realize why they lost February 10th local government votes.
You know, in my mind, I'm talking for myself now, I expected just the one change. I thought that PM will give up and say, well, okay, the people have spoken, I'm going, you guys do what you can. And that we'd have a new Prime Minister from the United National Party, keeping that national governance thing in place, the national government, because you need that, don't you? Otherwise you can't have a big cabinet. Right? So that's the main thing here, I think, is that need to have that big cabinet, because all these people are in it for benefits. And if you had a small cabinet, none of these guys are going to hang around.
Okay.
Right? So therefore, I thought that finally the Prime Minister will say, well, okay, I'm the leader of the United National Party. We've taken a big hit. It should have been the other way around. But we've taken a big hit, and enough is enough, and I'm going. But that didn't happen. That's I expected that, because I have some sympathy for the United National Party. But like many people I know, I'm unlikely to vote for that party when there appears to be, and there definitely is, a leadership crisis. There's a vacuum. Where is the leadership in our country, Shamindra?
For us, I think all major political parties are facing a leadership crisis, not only the UNP. I think other major political parties too have issues, obviously. And now you take the joint opposition or SLPP. Now they have been forced to bring back the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, right? Because in all political parties you will realize there is no second level leadership, right? The leaders never allow other people to come up.
Now then, you know, the former governor of the Central Bank issued a statement some weeks ago. Do you remember that story about the 1 trillion and the 10 trillion?
When you say the former governor, you're talking about Cabral?
Yes, Mr. Cabral. Now then, he said, this statement stuck in my mind. He said, when he was talking about the 1 trillion and the 10 trillion, and I take issue that he's wrong on that, right? Anyway, when he was talking about that, he said that these statements are bordering the lunacy. Well, I beg your pardon. I think that the inability of these people to understand when you have lost that inability is lunacy. They're mentally ill if they can't work this out. After so long, Shamindra, you know, the people, I don't know whether you speak to people, what I call the general public, and when I do that, they're just fed up. The people in the supermarket I was chatting to on the aisle, and they're fed up, completely fed up. The youngsters just fall about laughing.
About?
The youth, about this whole travesty that's going on.
Yes, for us, but you must realize that yesterday's reshuffle could not have happened if the SLP, it happened because both the UNP and the SLP agreed to it, because in the run-up to the election, there was this huge battle between the SLP and the UNP over the central bank bond scam. One party accused the other of robbing the country.
And quite rightly too.
Yes. And there was a huge issue. And then subsequently, people like Sushil Premajayanta, then other senior SLPs, they demanded that the Prime Minister should go. But now, obviously, they had again reached some sort of agreement between the SLP and the UNP to continue.
They've
so perhaps,
made up.
Perhaps the Western powers, they have forced them to continue their marriage.
But this is one hell of a transaction then. What are they doing here? Impinging on our sovereignty.
It's happening. Faraz, you must realize, you must understand that this unholy alliance was first formed in 2010. That was to promote and to back General Fonseca against the former President Rajapaksa. The same alliance operated this time in 2015.
But isn't it shocking that this United National Party, this big, major political force, right? Remember the things that JR did, the satyagrahas and all that, you know, the peaceful protests when he was trying to topple Mrs. Bandaranaike and so on. This wonderful, great party can't put its own candidate up twice, not once but twice, for a presidential election. Isn't it sad?
It's pathetic.
It's absolutely pathetic. You know, sometimes you choose the right words, Shamindra, and your 30 plus years of experience as a journalist gives the game away because you've used the right word. It's absolutely pathetic.
I think of this today's coverage, I think the most interesting story is on page 1 of Daily Mirror. That Johan Pereira is a very senior journalist. He says that the Honorable Prime Minister will hold the law and order portfolio
only for a week.
Now, these are record. This is a record. This is nothing but a record.
This is just, it's called the last hurrah.
So
they're just clutching at straws.
For us, the issue is, did the SLFP agree to this?
Yeah.
The Prime Minister holding this position for 1 week?
And is it a bit of a coincidence that Prince Zayed has made that statement yesterday? To me, it's all a plan. You know, you had the two ambassadors visit the President and the Prime Minister whilst this crisis is going on. The crisis is not quite resolved when Prince Zayed makes a statement about this, the application of universal jurisdiction in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has not made progress. How can they make progress, excuse me, when they're bickering and feuding all the time and they're robbing? The level of corruption in this country is absolutely appalling. It's appalling. And they don't care, Shamindra. Did you see last week? They've managed to pass that cabinet paper to awarding the Central Expressway Section 3 to Taisei. Remember that Taisei was the company that they first wanted to promote. The people who didn't were so sure that they didn't even bring their bid bond.
Certainly, so for us, for the situation in this country today, the two major political parties in coalition should take responsibility. It's not one political party. I always disagree with people when they try to blame one political party. It's the coalition, the UNP-SLP coalition should take responsibility for this situation.
Well, it was obvious that the people were saying, look, we're not very happy with your coalition.
But
the people said very clearly that they were not happy with the coalition.
Obviously, I mean, you just you take the results.
But also
in the south, I think in 18 or 19 districts, they were wiped out.
But then, Shamindra, if you have a look in greater analytical detail, if you have a look at it, about 160 councils don't have a clear majority, forcing people into deals, into transactions.
Yes.
Right? Opening the way for corruption.
But in local government polls for us, this time, they cannot switch sides.
Right.
So even if you take money or some other bribe, you cannot change sides. You have to remain, because if you change sides, the leader, the general secretary of that particular political party has the right to remove that person. But earlier you referred to the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
Now see, this government, the UNP-SLP coalition, was given a very good opportunity in October last year to defend Sri Lanka in Geneva. Right? In the House of Lords, it was told that the Sri Lankan army did not kill 40,000 people. The maximum number of people killed, maximum 8,000, of which 1/4 were members of the LTT. Now this government, this coalition refused to take it up, that issue in Geneva. Up to today, it remains a major issue. Then you take the issue in the UK, recalling Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, right? The President issued a statement that he would, that he wants the brigadier to continue. But see the way the British government acted at the behest of the Global Tamil Forum and other diaspora organization.
But there is also some sense in recalling him on grounds of security.
I don't believe it for us. I don't take it seriously. Actually, our ambassadors, our foreign envoys, both from civil service and the military, served at various overseas missions in Asia and Europe under very difficult circumstances, and there is no need for us all of a sudden to say there's a security issue. It's a lie. It's a blatant lie, and we were compelled to recall this officer. Actually, if he did not, if the government did not for us, if the government did not, they would have expelled him, because the Tamil voter in UK is very powerful.
I can't only blame it on that power. But what about the fact that what he did, well, that was not a very nice thing to do, is it?
No, he was responding to a group of people, a group of British nationals, right? They were not asylum seekers, that who set fire to our national flag, right? So the brigadier very clearly indicated.
But when you're in uniform and when you're representing your country in some form or other, there is a certain form to keep. There's a certain form. It's a bit like you go to Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. You can shout about everything, but it's just not done to hurl abuse at Her Majesty the Queen. That's just an unreasonable.
No, he should not have done it.
He shouldn't have done it, and therefore, on that basis alone, you must be responsible for your actions.
But at the same time, for us, you must look back. See, from 2010 onwards, there have been a series of protests in the UK.
Indeed.
When the former president visited UK, I think in 2012 or 2010, that period, there were violent protests. They almost tried to storm our High Commission there, right? So you have to take into consideration these factors also. It's because it's easy for people to blame a person.
But I was there actually, and it snowed very heavily that day. And what the people, the protesters, did was they made up little snowballs and they threw them at various people, politicians who were leaving. And I think SP Dissanayake, I think it was him, he got some on his car as well, and he said it was stones. And somebody said, no, it's snowballs. But on that note, we're going to have to go for a short break. We'll go for the break and we'll come back, and I'll tell you all about this very suspicious viewer who sent us a SMS. I'll read that out after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Newsline, and remember I told you before the break that we've got a message from one of our viewers. I'm going to read it to you as it says. It says here, good morning for us. Watching Newsline live. The former governor, Arjuna Mahendran, will be in country. As the Prime Minister is the new law and order minister, I believe this is another well set up project to protect him. You see how the people have got suspicious.
But as I pointed out earlier, the Honourable Prime Minister will hold that position for a week.
Well, a week is a long time in politics.
For him to come? No, I don't think so, Faraz. I think the most important thing.
But will the new law and order minister, the new law and order minister who's taken oath and who's currently the new law and order minister, will he sign off on a request for an international arrest warrant?
I must tell you, Faraz, this government is not in a position to protect Arjuna Mahendran. I am telling you. Nobody is in a position. They
never were, but they did right from the 17th of March, 2015.
They tried for us. They failed. Now, yesterday, actually, the Sunday Times reported yesterday, right? Yeah. Very interesting piece, right? Now, I know the person who did that piece, and it's a very...
you can tell the name if you remember it. It doesn't matter.
Not nice to mention his name, but it's a very senior journalist. Put out a very interesting news item. It says that they have the detectives probing the central bank fraud. They have detected that they have found an account which was used to issue checks to politicians, officials, and journalists. Right? So it's a very interesting situation now. Earlier, after Avantgarde also, they said certain journalists were paid. Then Vimal Virwansh was also accused of providing vehicles to 2 journalists, 2 or 3, I'm not sure, at least 2. So these are the issues faced by this government, right?
Let's be a bit democratic, shall we?
And I just want to add one thing. Now, if they want to, now they were forced to do this reshuffle or whatever they call it yesterday, after the heavy defeat they suffered at February 10th election, right? Now we are facing a period from beginning September this year. You will have 9 provincial council polls, then the parliamentary, the presidential, then the parliamentary polls within 2.5 years. So just imagine, so every time this government loses, this coalition loses, they'll have to reshuffle the cabinet. Right?
Now that's the problem. This 19th Amendment is a bit wishy-washy, if I may say so. And I wonder if people like the people who drew it up, I suppose Dr. Jampati and all these people, I don't know whether...
No, actually, for us, this government, if you see, both the SLP and the UMP, they always claim that it was their greatest achievement.
Oh, really? What absolute nonsense. For the people,
no, the 19th Amendment was brought in April 2015 to prevent the former president from contesting again. Right?
Well, that might make more sense, because this 19th Amendment, what it does is, it precludes the people, it impinges on the people's right to have elections. They can't do jack for 4.5 years. You know, that's about it.
I don't agree with you, Faraz, because actually the 19th Amendment has given stability, because earlier the president had the right to dissolve the parliament.
I showed you earlier.
Within 1 year, Faraz.
Yes, that is where then they should have just focused on that. How about the bit where they've left out the bit where the president can change the prime minister with a letter, as it was in the past? All this is is a premeditated disaster.
Faraz, don't forget.
Yeah.
The SLP and the UMP got together.
Yes, but I think this is sneaked in, Shamindra.
At the behest of the Western powers, they brought in 19 amendments to dilute the powers of the president.
I do wish these Western powers would mind their own business and get on with running their country. Listen, message from some people. We'll better read this out. Ranil and Co. with the JVP and MR, all one group of rogues. UNP must have a new young group with JRJ, Senanayaka, grandsons with Sajid, Naveen, etc., etc., etc. True? Do we need a whole-scale change here?
Total, for us, total.
We need it's just so rotten, it's beyond redemption, isn't it?
I think
it's a bit like this wood that you use. If there comes a point when you've got to change it.
All of them have failed for us.
All of them have failed.
All of them.
And all these good.
The example I can only give you is how they reacted to what had happened in the House of Lords. You had an opportunity to defend the governor, this country, the armed forces of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
These people refused to do so, and I had this argument with
but isn't it the problem? Just talking about that flag again, because there's some people writing in about that, SMSing in. Isn't it true that the responsibility, you know, when that group of people burnt or trampled the national flag of Sri Lanka, that is tantamount to inciting some form of violence. And I'm a bit perturbed that the British, the Metropolitan Police, and there are police permanently in front of every embassy.
Yes,
there is, and that they appear to have not done anything. In the time of the last president, when President Rajapaksa was there for some meeting, most of the world leaders who were present there were taken in a coach to Mansion House, I think it was, and there were so many protests. The level of protest was so high that President Rajapaksa was told that he is very special and that he can go on his own. So he was sent in a Range Rover on his own, unmarked, windows tinted, and no national flag. Right? But, so the British British police should have done something about that.
Certainly for us, I mean...
It's a responsibility to that. And there's this other question here. About the 19th Amendment. Do you remember the 19th Amendment? We took it on here as network here. We took it on as well, and gave some input there. And then this other person here. There are many culprits, politicians in many political parties. They all make parliament jokes, but no development, no future for children. They cross side by side from party to party by obtaining money. When will the country be in proper order? That message is from upcountry, from Norelia.
Yeah, so if I may respond to the person from Norelia, you can see how the upcountry political party is operating. No, they switch sides very swiftly, and it's Faraz.
And Shamindra, you need to have a look at this upcountry thing. On Shakti TV,
Faraz, you must realize, Faraz, all these people, right? They are waiting for their next duty-free car permit, right?
Or their pension.
No, the pension they have already obtained. No.
Well, they haven't finished for 5 years in Parliament.
When you come, most of the people, Farah, they have been in Parliament for 15-20 years. They have received the pension rights already. Now, under the 19th Amendment, we will have general elections in every 5 years. So, every 5 years, honorable members of the parliament are entitled to receive duty-free car permits. The tax exemption of 300 lakhs or more, right? So when you think about the perks and privilege received by these people, right? They don't care that they will continue. I mean, it's better to be in the opposition than out of parliament. No, that's true.
One viewer says, good morning, all the thieves are in this symbol hanging on to power. And
no dispute. No dispute.
And one or two are helpless.
Yes, and then I think the media also, media too should take blame for the situation up to a certain extent, because now there is this allegation that to protect those who had been involved in the central bank bond scam, the journalists have received money, checks on a monthly basis. Just imagine. So the Sunday Times has reported it, right? So they will never.
I do hope that the young Arjun, who's
and they say that account that particular account was operated by two persons.
That's right.
So very interesting.
Father and son. All very sad, because the people's money has been squandered, and there's been no change. And it's no good the conductor shouting all change, because they're not changing.
And for us, I must also mention that now they have sent teams to Dubai, UAE to bring back Udayanga Veeratunga.
Yeah.
Why don't they send a team to Singapore to do the same?
Spot on.
Right.
I think that's the best comment we've made on the program.
So I think this coalition, the UMP-SLP administration, should take action against all wrongdoers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Well said. Well said indeed. And I think it's time for us to finish the program. Thank you for all your questions. I'm sorry that I couldn't take so many of them. But we can live in hope, can't we?
No.
Can't we live in hope?
No further.
Can't live in hope.
So every time they have PC polls, then the presidential, the parliamentary, right? You'll have reshuffles, right? So there'll be many more. See.
There you go, Sri Lanka. Let's do the hustle. All right. On that note, thank you very much, Shamindra Ferdinando, and it's have a great week ahead. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.